Hi there and welcome. It is good to have you with me. We are just in the setup phase of getting things ready, and it's been a technical morning. Things have just been going AWOL all over the place. So I apologize that we are 2 minutes late getting this going. I need to share screen. There we go. We need to grab our participants list. Hello, Chesley Phillips. It's good to see you on the webinar. My apologies. It's been a challenging morning tech-wise. I've had a couple of pieces of electronic equipment die on me today, which is not good. And it means that I am running behind by just a moment. So I appreciate your patience and bearing with me as I get this set up to go out to all the different places it's supposed to be going to. So glad you're with me today. Okay, and we are sharing this to there. And oh my flippin' heck. Okay. You ever have one of those days where just, okay, this is one of those everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Okay, so I am simply not going to live stream it then, because that's not going to work for all kinds of bizarre reasons. I just need to pop into my Facebook group to let them know that they have to join us in the actual webinar today, because the live stream is just not going to work. I'm having to use my backup computer because my main computer decided it didn't want to cooperate today. And so let me pop down here. ID number. Thank you again, Chesley, for your patience with this. It's just kind of bizarre that everything's going goofy all on the same day. We'll get through it and it'll all be good, right? I hope you're having a great day, Chesley. I'd love to know a little bit more about you, Chesley. You're the first one to be with me on the webinar today. So I'm talking to you. And so I hope that's okay with you. I'm just wondering how you are and where you are. It's always fun to find out where people are located. There we go. Oh, I can't do it that way. I just really want, no, okay. Alrighty. I usually try to be much more on top of it than this, but hey, some days it works and some days it doesn't. Just gonna do that. Alrighty. Okay, so that's got it shared to there. I just need to bring Instagram on board. Okay. This is hopefully going to be pretty quick. It usually is. Okay. At least the phone is working properly, so that's a good thing. So for those of you who are joining me on Instagram, we're going to get you focused on the screen in a hot second here. There we go. Okay. Ta-da. Okay, let's rock and roll with this. I do not have the screen that I normally have. Therefore, there's no way for me to unmute myself. Okay, well, Chesley, I am just so glad you're communicating with me in the chat box. Thank you for that. I'm grateful for any feedback I can get today. And yeah, I've got the chat box open so we can keep talking via the chat as we need to. And now, here's what I need. I need to make sure, okay, we are recording. We recorded all of that nonsense. Okay, let's get on with this. Again, thank you so much for being with me today. Whether you're joining me on Instagram or on the webinar, and for those of you who are hopefully seeing this through the link I just posted on Facebook, that is wonderful. I know there's probably a million other things you could be doing today, so I really do appreciate that you've prioritized this time to be with me today for this next hour or so. It's fun to learn iridology, and it's fun to see where it can take us and what kind of information it can give us. And hello, Julie. So good to see you. I'm glad you are with us on the webinar as well. Iridology has been evolving for nearly 200 years, at least in the modern iteration of it. And our understanding of iridology has undergone massive changes. And those changes have moved us forward. It's really important to recognize that there has been a lot of research. There is continuing, ongoing research. And with that, the language has evolved. We've learned so much. Even in the 4 decades that I've been an iridologist, we've learned so much. And it's just exciting to see where that has taken us. We need to know that the language we used to use with iridology is outdated. It's actually misleading, and it's not a good thing to be stuck in the past. Some things can go retro. Iridology shouldn't, right? So this little tutorial today is all about getting current. It's about learning the current language, understanding how the words work, and understanding the influence that our language can have on our iris assessment even. So this is so important. But just before we launch into that, okay, why is this not letting me advance my slides? There we go. I'm going to offer an invitation right up front for you to hang on with me to the very end of the webinar, because today I've got a special invitation for you. I'm going to introduce the course Dynamic Iridology Assessment System for Health Professionals. This is especially valuable for you if you're a herbalist, nutrition coach, a naturopath, a medical doctor, an RN, a chiropractor, or if you're keenly interested and you've got a college level anatomy and physiology class under your belt. The Dynamic Iridology Assessment System is designed to train health professionals to use iridology in their practice so that they can learn more than just iris markers, but they can actually learn how to integrate iridology with what they already do. So if you are keen to learn that, hang out with me till the very end of our time together. The next course date starts on April 21st, Thursday, April 21st. You might think I'm crazy giving so much lead time on this, but I limit my classes to only 10 students, and so it can fill up pretty quick if you don't get on the ball. So we'll introduce all of the details for this course at the end of our time together today with a special invitation for you. But for now, if you're ready to actually look at some eyes and to learn some constitutional language, give me a thumbs up. Wherever you're joining me, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're ready to learn some modern language of iridology. And I encourage you and invite you to also be posting your comments and questions in the chat box in the comments. So, and if we've got time, I will go to them and answer them at the end of our presentation if I didn't get to them during the presentation. I really value interaction. So if you want to see the best of what I've got, play with me in my sandbox. All righty. So let me know, are you ready? We've got waves from all over the place on Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. I really appreciate that. And yeah, love to see the feedback from my webinar or from the people who are with me on Zoom. What you're going to realize today is that the old iridology terms we used to use were very diagnostic. And in fact, we often did use iridology to diagnose. And that's a big bet. Oops, we shouldn't be doing that. I would love to know how many of you have a background in iridology. And if you do have a background, give me a yes or a no. Yes, I do. No, I don't. And if it's a yes, I would love to know whether it was Jensenian or Robert Morse or David Pesek or constitutional, what your background is. That'll help me to tweak this presentation a little more as we go so that it can meet your needs. So stay with me. We've got Chesley saying she doesn't have iridology yet. Fabulous. You know, we don't have anything to unlearn. That's amazing. Healer on a Mission says, yes, she's got a background. And I'd love to know what that is. Lots of these say no, some say Robert Morse. Okay, let's dive into this. The first term we are going to look at, and for those of you who are on Instagram, I will move my camera closer, and I apologize, it's now going to be handheld, so it'll be a little bit wobbly. And Orby's got constitutional, amazing. This is so good. First term we want to learn is what these are called. Okay, in Jensenian iridology, these were called lesions. In constitutional, they are called lacunae. And so when we are looking at this, a lesion is a region, and that region could define an organ or a tissue in the case of iridology. In general definitions, it could be just an organ or a tissue that has suffered a damage through injury or disease, such as a wound, ulcer, abscess, or tumor. So we used to call these lesions, which signified that we knew there was some kind of damage that had gone on, that was ongoing, and that could probably be corrected. Now, what we know is that that is not a correct assessment in iridology. Research has borne this out. We call these, in constitutional iridology, these are called one is a lacuna, many are lacunae. And a lacuna simply means an unfilled space or gap. A lacuna brings our attention to a reaction field or an area in the iris, but it does not tell us what is going on there. This marking is genetic, it's inherent, it's passed down from the past 3 or 4 generations. So in order for us to understand what this means, we have to have a conversation with our client. We have to understand what their personal and family history is to understand what this marking could mean. Again, it means that there's been something passed down, an inherent tendency or predisposition. And each individual lacuna is not necessarily important because we need to understand what this marking is and other things about this marking and about the organ that this is representing to really know how we're going to interpret this. Hi, Garwood's mom. It's so good to see you. With lacuna in constitutional iridology, we do not diagnose. We do not say you have problem XYZ or your whatever body part needs work. That is diagnostic, not assessment. Again, this marking may actually be unimportant for this client as we dive into understanding what their personal and family history is. And as we look at other markings in the eye that may give us more information that correlates. Maybe there's no other markings, there's nothing else that correlates, and that means that this is less relevant. Every marking in the eye is not critically important to the moment. That is so important, and that's so different from what I learned originally when I started learning iridology 4 decades ago. The next marker we want to look at is this white band around the outer edge of this iris. I was taught to call this originally a sodium ring or a cholesterol ring. And we were taught to teach our clients that this means you've got blocked arteries. Oh my goodness, you're in danger. You're going to have a stroke or a heart attack, and this is really bad news, right? And we were also taught to call this an indication. If it was just at the top of the eye, it was called an arc of senility, right? Now, what we know is that those are both potentially very incorrect. There is about a 50% correlation between this and elevated cholesterol, which may or may not correlate to depositing cholesterol in the arteries. I know plenty of people who've got this, whether it's just at the top of their iris or goes all the way around, that are not senile. Now, they're elderly and they're sharp as a tack. The name that we use in constitutional iridology is Lipemic Diathesis. Now, that is an umbrella name, and it breaks down under it. There are at least 3 other names that we can use. We can have a corneal arcus, a corneal annulus, or we can simply call the lipemic diathesis corneal opacity. So these terms describe what we're seeing, not what's happening in the body. The term lipemic diathesis gives us clues as to the imbalance that may exist in how the body works with carbohydrates and how the body manages its lipid balance. But it's not a guarantee. Somebody might have this marking, and because it's in the cornea, it's not in the iris, it's in the cornea, it develops in response to, for many people, in response to the lipid balance in their blood. This can also be natural aging of the cornea. So we have to know, when did this sign start to build and how long has it been there for? We might want to see some lab tests on this person to understand if they are at risk now. But the bottom line is, maybe we do all this work with this person and we get the way they handle carbohydrates all balanced out. This marker is not going to go away. But by doing the dietary work and changing how their body handles carbs, we can reduce any possible threat and the impact, right? So again, this is not an iris sign, it is a sclera sign, and it develops over time in relation to blood chemistry and in relation to how the body handles carbs. It's not going to go away as a result of cleansing or fasting or taking a magic potion or doing an appropriate herbal program. This is there for good. The sclera is very stingy, the cornea is very stingy. It is not going to give back what it's already collected. Nerve rings. These rings coming around here, we used to call them nerve rings or cramp rings or stress rings. These are not the result of stress, and they won't go away when the stress goes away. I was originally taught that if you have 3 complete rings going all the way around, it meant you were headed for a nervous breakdown. And now we know instead that these lines in the eye, these rings in the eye, are an indication that this person lives in the sympathetic nervous system, right? That's your fight, flight, or freeze. That's your response to stress. So these people are more prone to overreacting to things that don't need reacting to. I think of my youngest daughter, who is now 23. She's got lots of these contraction furrows, as we call them now. If I could get her to use vitamins on a regular basis and herbs, we might see some improvement in her temperament. She internalizes everything. Every stress she has in the day, she holds on to it good and tight. What I've learned, and this is one of the jobs as being a mom, and those of you who are moms will appreciate this. What I've learned is when she comes home from work, she needs to decompress. She needs to tell someone about everything that happened in the day with great detail. So I find myself putting on my mom ears for at least 20 minutes when she walks in the door, because she needs to tell me all about the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, everything that's happened. And, she walked in the door grumpy and miserable and feeling like the world hates her. And by the time she's unloaded for 20 minutes, at the end of that, she's laughing and giving me hugs. And she's the sweet girl that I know she is. She's got tons of these. She internalizes her stress and she reacts to it like an Olympic athlete, right? If stress response could be an Olympic sport, she would be a gold medalist. And so these rings are a good indicator that she burns through her B vitamins, vitamin C, calcium, and magnesium a little too fast. And again, if I could get her to take more of those, it would sustain her and support her. She wouldn't respond to the stress so aggressively, and we'd all be much happier. venous congestion versus a circulatory ring. Now, what we're looking at here is actually not on the iris, it's on the sclera down here. Can you see there's a little bit of a blue haze hanging on the edge of the iris there? That is what we used to call venous congestion. And we used to say that it meant that the return of the blood from the extremities was very poor, that those tissues weren't getting enough oxygen, and there may be some element of that. What I have found in my 4 decades of doing this work is that this often correlates to blood sugar imbalances, tired adrenals, and the impact they have on circulation. So if my client has tired adrenals, if my client has unbalanced blood sugars, I am going to see that there are circulatory issues in the extremities, usually cold hands and cold feet. If, on the other hand, we get those adrenals built up and we get their blood sugars balanced out, we find the hands and the feet warm up. So with all of this, can you see that iridology is not diagnostic? It doesn't tell us what is wrong. It doesn't give us the root cause. It doesn't tell us a disease name. That's what I'm looking for. What it does tell us is what some of the mechanisms are that might be programmed to function at a less than optimal rate. When we understand that, we can support those organs and those functions with diet, with supplements, with lifestyle, with many more things. So we've touched on a few of the iridology terms, and now I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself, if that's okay with you, and then we're going to do 8 more iridology terms. So for those of you who are on Instagram, I'm just going to move my camera image right to the center. So my name is Judith Cobb. I'm a master herbalist, natural nutrition clinical practitioner, and a certified level 3 iridology instructor. I've been a holistic practitioner for over 4 decades now. I got into holistic healing way back when the earth was young because I had some health problems, and the medical world didn't seem to be able to give me answers or give me remedies. They just wanted to do more and more tests. Lo and behold, right about then is when I met the man that I married, and he knew a little bit about herbs and a little bit about iridology and a little bit about reflexology and a little bit about diet. So he started teaching me what he knew, and in the process, we fell in love and got married. And that was when I decided that my pathway was not going to be what I'd gone to university for, which was to be an elementary school teacher, but instead it was going to be in coaching adults one-on-one and in teaching courses to adults. That's where my heart really lies as far as what happens online. Again, I've been in the industry for over 4 decades. I've written many books that I've self-published and self-distributed. They're all out of print right now. Pregnancy Naturally, the Herbal Birth Kit Handbook, Healthy Kids Naturally, The Essential Guide to Nature's Sunshine Products, Biokinesiology and Color Therapy, Level 1 and Level 2, and the Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology textbook. I've also designed and taught many different kinds of holistic health courses. My first course that I ever designed some 35 or 36 years ago was an introductory course on how to use herbs that you could buy commercially prepared in the health food stores. It was 20 hours long, and the students loved it. We ran it through a public service venue here in Calgary, and we would teach it 3 times a year, and it was always full to capacity with a waiting list. Those students were so excited about it that they asked for more. In the last class, when we were saying goodbyes, they would all say, well, what comes next? And so I created another 16-hour course designed to teach them how to understand the interaction of herbs, and particularly how to understand herbal preparations that they could buy, herbal blends they could buy in the health food stores, so that they would understand that, yeah, the front of the label says this is an eye wash, but when you know the ingredients, you can use this product for X, Y, and Z as well. I also designed and taught biokinesiology and color therapy level 1 and 2. Some of you might know BioK as muscle testing. For a little while, for a few years, I was a certified prenatal educator. So I designed and taught antenatal classes and had so much fun. Fertility and pregnancy is my other passion. I really love working in that arena. And in the past about 5 or 6 years, I've designed and taught the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System, which is a course approved by the International Iridology Practitioners Association as covering their level 1 and level 2 core curriculum for certification. So again, stay with me to the end of our workshop and I'll give you a little bit more information about that course. I am a proud member of the Canadian Association of Holistic Nutrition Professionals and the Canadian Association of Natural Nutritional Practitioners and of the Alberta Herbalist Association. So I've got some credentials under my belt that I love to integrate whenever I'm teaching iridology. All righty, let's look at some more eyes. Does that sound okay by you? Yeah. If you want to look at some more eyes and learn some more modern language, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're still with me on this. The next term we are going to learn, I was originally taught to call this parasite lines. And we were taught that when we saw these black lines radiating out, it meant that this person had parasites. Well, what we know about iridology is that the eyes teach us about your genetic potential, not your transient potential, not your, they had a surgery or something like that. They teach us about your inherent genetic potential. So what does that mean? That means that if parasites can be passed on through your DNA, then yeah, let's call these parasite lines. Parasite lines cannot be passed on through your DNA. If I have parasites and I am in my childbearing years and I have a child, I'm not going to give the child those parasites through the DNA. I might expose them to the parasites in some other way, but it's not going to be through their DNA. And so these are not an indication of the presence of parasites. We could take this person and parasite cleanse them until we are blue in the face, and those lines are not going to go away. These lines instead are separations in the stroma or the fiber structure of the iris. And these give us a little bit of information about the nervous system and the nerve feeds to the various organs. I was also taught all those years ago that these freckles, if you will, were the result of using drugs. Prescription drugs, over-the-counter medications, illicit drugs, and that you had to cleanse. And if you would cleanse, these spots would go away. Now, it really seems to me that at least in North America, we are cleanse happy. It seems to be a huge badge of honor. I'm doing a cleanse. I did this cleanse. I did that cleanse. This is the best cleanse there is. And really, that seems to me to be a little bit bizarre, because that's like saying, I let a bunch of animals run through my house and make a mess of it, and now I'm cleaning it up, and I'm really proud that I let the animals run through my house. Right? And so wouldn't it just be smarter instead to make the necessary lifestyle and diet changes and not put the trash into your body and never have to do a cleanse again? Now, having said that, there's absolutely no scientific proof that these pigments are the result of chemical drug use or chemical exposure or toxicity. There's also no proof that these pigments can be cleansed out of the eyes. We do know that children are often born with these pigments. They're a genetic potential marker. We know that these pigments can appear in the eyes over time, but that is again under genetic influence. So a good comparison is, my hair is pretty gray now. It wasn't always this gray. I didn't do anything to turn it. Well, maybe I did. I've got 7 kids. I don't think I did anything to turn my hair gray like this. I think that's my genetic potential. I may have delayed it going gray because with my healthy lifestyle, because both of my brothers went gray a lot younger than I did, right? And so I'm thinking that my gray hair is genetic. These pigments in your eyes are also genetic. When they develop over time, it's because there's a genetic cue that is saying, pigment, you're up now. Okay, you need to be there now. And so when we see this, these pigments give us indications based on their color and their placement of which organ wants to be out of balance and how it wants to influence other organs. And that, of course, can change over time. Usually things get worse, not better, right? And so that's why these come up. They're telling us that an organ wants to create stress for other body parts. So we know that we need to do support for that organ so that it won't inflict its torture on other body parts. We call these pigment. They are not a reflection of any kind on toxicity levels. Here at the center of the eye, now this is going to be a little harder for me to show you on Instagram, but I'm going to do my best. Oh, there we go. We've got it. Whoops, let me bring that image back. Oops, there we go. Sorry about that little technical blip there. Okay, so we're looking at this gray edge right in here. And that again is very diagnostic. We call it an interpupillary border, which is actually the correct ophthalmological term. When we can stomach lining, and it teaches us about the body's, about the stomach's inherent ability to secrete digestive juices. Again, this is inherent. This person hasn't done anything to turn this gray. And beyond that, they're not going to do anything to make it a different color. Gray is what they were blessed with at the moment of conception. But this does suggest that this person is inherently prone to poor digestive juice secretion at the stomach level. All right, so when we see that, we're going to ask questions, especially if it correlates to what the client is asking for help with. We want to find out about a personal or family history of digestive issues with the stomach, not the intestinal tract, not the esophagus, but the stomach itself. We want to understand the symptoms that they have there so that we understand how we can help the client. And through all of this, we're never naming disease. I was taught also to call this eye a rheumatic eye. Now, when I hear the term rheumatic, I think of rheumatic fever, rheumatoid arthritis. You know, I think of something that's going to be pretty debilitating in a lot of ways. It's not the kind of a word that anyone wants to hear used with their name. Oh, you have a rheumatic eye. Like, oh, what does that mean? Should I be worried? Instead, we call this a febrile eye. And there's some debate about different definitions for what a febrile eye looks like, depending on who your teacher is. The constitutional definition is that a blue eye that is very, very white fibers, very white clouding in it, and all over it. So there's not any other colors in it, just the blues and the whites. That is a febrile eye. So this is the eye of someone who likely fevered easily as a child. That where the fever was the first indication that their immune system was fighting something off. These people tend to be more prone to being mucousy as well. But again, when we know that, we know how to coach them as to what foods are better, what dietary or what lifestyle habits might be better. And we can help them regulate the amount of mucus they create. We can help them support their whole immune system so that they don't need to have so many fevers and respond with so much mucus. We can keep that under control. This one really gets me. We were taught to call this one a weak constitution. How would that make your day? You have a weak constitution. Well, thanks a lot. I love you too, right? That's really kind of a harsh assessment to make on somebody, right? Instead, we call this connection. tissue subtype, because whether your fibers are densely packed and fairly straight or woven and a little gappy shows your predisposition, not your actual condition. So this kind of a structure where things are loose and gappy suggests that this body doesn't repair its structure easily. It has to work harder to do that. And so, but it can be done. These people maybe should avoid contact sports. There we go. Thank you, Maria, for letting me know that my microphone had turned itself off. And those of you who are with me live on the webinar, you will get the replay of this, so you'll be able to, it might not have the sound right there, so my apologies. All righty, and Healer on a Mission says it makes sense, brilliant. These people, again, strong constitution, and we would say that to them, and you could see them go, huh, I can do anything I want then. My body is strong and resilient. And it's like, no, that's the wrong message. That means your body will respond more quickly and more positively. It'll ward off disease better, but it doesn't give you a license to have a junk food diet. So instead of calling this a strong constitution, we call it a neurogenic subtype, because these people have certain personality traits that are about the nervous system, right? So we just want to call these people neurogenic. They crave peace. They crave calm. They like all their ducks to be lined up in a row. They don't like it when the computer turns itself off, or, when they don't handle that well, because that's not what they had planned for the day, right? And so these people are a neurogenic subtype, and yes, they will respond when they're well nourished. They will respond with a much stronger positive response to disease and tissue breakdown, but it doesn't mean they can be abusive of their body. How are we doing so far? Any questions? And I really appreciate your patience today with all of the technical issues we've had. My goodness. The next one was bowel pockets versus crypts. Now, I was taught that these little dark spots like this one, and these, And this always meant this person had diverticuli. And so I was diagnosing diverticuli all the way along. Now that's a problem because I can't really see that with this person. I can't scope them, do a colonoscopy and actually see that they have diverticuli. And so what we now know, these are in the eye, these are called crypts. And when we see these crypts, it does suggest there may be a weak link in the intestinal wall. And that weak link might have reduced energy, and we don't know how that could be going to let things through the intestinal wall into the blood and lymph that don't belong there. We don't know. We know that it might be harder for this area to use nutrients and to offload its metabolic waste, but we really don't have the long-term know for this person of what it means. We have to ask questions. So this is not necessarily an indicator of diverticuli. We have to ask questions about their bowel habits, about their diet. Autonomic nerve wreath. You'll hear a lot of people refer to this ring as the autonomic nerve wreath or the ANW. It's been renamed as the collarette, which again is the ophthalmological term for this. This is about so much more than just the autonomic nervous system. It actually teaches us, about the balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, which do make up the autonomic nervous system, the tone of the intestinal tract, and if the autonomic nerve wreath has pigment, it can give us more insight as well. Orabi is asking, it's been about 5 years since my certification. Should I get recertified with the new terms? Orabi, it sounds like if you were taught using the old terms that you were probably taught Jensenian or Morse or some other philosophy of iridology. So recertifying in constitutional iridology will give you these new terms. It will give you a much different understanding of iridology than what you had if you were Jensenian or Morse. So I would suggest if, Orby, if you want to be up to date, then recertification might be a really good idea for you. We were taught years ago that these little tufts of white fluffy stuff coming around the edge were called a lymphatic rosary. And what we know is that these typically are sitting in zone 6 of the iris, which is the zone that teaches us about the lymphatic system, about surface and surface blood and surface lymph. Now, this suggests an inherent predisposition towards congestion in the surface blood and lymph, but it's not a guarantee. These individual markings alone are called tophi, and together, well, we've got all this many of them. That helps us define what we call the hydrogenoid subtype. So it does suggest that this person may be prone to sluggish lymphatic circulation and sluggish circulation at the surface, but we always need to consider what the client is doing, because this is an inherent marking. This has been passed down through the generations. So we need to find out, what is this person's diet like? What do they do for exercise? Are they even coming in for a concern that ties into the lymphatic system? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. If they are, then we can land on this and work with it with them. And not that it's going to change what we see in the eye, but that it's going to change how their body works and how they feel. If they're coming in for something that is not related to the lymphatic system, I might ask a little question or two about the lymphatic system, but I'm not going to focus on it. So, if she comes in and she's got a clean diet and she's got daily regular physical activity, I'm probably not going to worry about this at all. Right. So now that you know some of the modern constitutional iridology language and why it is so much more meaningful and useful in a clinical setting, I want to make an invitation for you. If you are a holistic practitioner And if you want to learn more about the upcoming course in the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System, let me introduce you to this. Do you want to know a little bit about what the course involves, what it includes? If you do, let me know. Let me know, because yeah, this course is 20 hours, or sorry, 40 hours. It's 20 live 2-hour-long webinars. And actually, it's a little bit longer than that now. I'm actually spending about 2.25 to 2.5 hours per lesson now, because we're going so deep. The students are coming in so ready because they have their anatomy and physiology already done, so we can go deeper. The webinars for the course are interactive. This covers the full International Iridology Practitioners Association Level 1 and Level 2 core curriculum that is required to prepare to certify with IPA. Every class session is recorded, so you have access to the recordings of your classes for playback on demand. You also receive a 200-page full-color downloadable textbook. I've kept it digital so that when we have to do a curriculum upgrade, all of my students have access to the latest curriculum. 45 pages of cheat sheets that are downloadable. Every month we do 2 live webinars where students bring their questions and the cases they're working on, and we discuss what they're working on. We answer their questions, we give them that support. And that's not just for students, it's also for alumni. So even if you graduated 5 years ago, even if you certified 5 years ago, not all my students certified, but if you did, and you still want to hang out with us in the office hours, you are welcome. You're welcome to bring cases and be engaged in our community. We have a private social media group for my students and alumni. I include in the tuition as a gift certification exam mentoring. The exam process is rigorous, and I like to make sure that my students are well prepared. So we have some one-on-one mentoring, and we have group mentoring as well beyond the classes and beyond the office hours. I integrate herbal and nutritional information into the course. So I'm not teaching herbology, I'm not teaching nutrition. I assume that most of my students have some of that under their belt already. And so by integrating some herbal and nutritional information, I'm helping my students see how what they already know integrates with iridology. And we have our supportive community of iridology students and course grads. And so that's included in your tuition. Some of it is hardcore curriculum stuff like the 20 live classes. The rest of this are gifts that I give you to make your learning process easier, to make it deeper, to make it more valuable, more applicable to what you are doing. Let's see what some of my students have said about this process and this course. Karen Choate, who is a CNHP, a Certified Natural Health Practitioner, and she specializes in gut health, sent this to me a couple of years ago. She had finished my course and was practicing with iridology. I just returned from a regenerative detoxification course where iridology is implemented. I spread the word about what a wonderful teacher you are. Most people I talked with did not have anywhere near the same experience with their iridology education. They had no support, they've got unanswered questions and a lot of confusion. Mostly they finished their classes not knowing how to implement what they had learned. I feel so absolutely blessed to have been taught by you. I feel totally supported, even still as I've graduated almost 4 years ago now. I don't think there's anyone out there practicing, educating, and teaching iridology like you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm eternally grateful for your never-ending patience and support. I love it. I give my students what I wish I'd gotten, right? This is Adam. He's a master herbalist in the UK. He came to me very well trained in iridology already. This is what he said. Having had a comprehensive iridology training in the past, I can attest that the dynamic iridology course is well-rounded and covers all the necessary basics embellished with the teacher's own experience and discoveries. The course is taught from up-to-date information, and it is clearly apparent how much work she puts into staying in the forefront of iridology research. The hidden gem in this iridology course is the ongoing support that Judith kindly offers, and which I find to be an invaluable gift and resource. I love that. And I love that because I've had students who have done courses with other certified instructors. They've finished their coursework and they've come to me and asked me to mentor them. And I've said, no, I mentor my students. I don't have time to mentor everybody. Go back to your teacher and ask to be mentored. And those teachers don't mentor. Once you finish the course, you're on your own. I believe in long-term mentoring for the success of my students. To that end, I actually believe in my ongoing learning, and that's why I'm a level 3 instructor. I've just added level 3 as an instructor's level this past July. There are only 3 of us who've actually completed the certification for IPA level 3, 3 of us in the world. There are a few iridologists who helped develop the course. They are level 3s as well. They didn't have to pass the exam because they helped develop the course. But there are only 3 of us who have passed the course, and there's only 6 level 3 instructors in the world. So yeah, I do believe in staying up to date. Our next course of Dynamic Iridology Assessment System starts Thursday, April 21st. If you are a holistic, sorry, not holistic, you don't have to be holistic. We can convert you to the truth of holism. If you're a health professional and you want to add iridology, or if you're not yet a health professional, but you have an anatomy and physiology course under your belt already, a college level A&P course, not just, you know, a little 10-hour thing. It's got to be a deep course. Then I invite you to book a call with me and let's talk about where you're at. Let's talk about where you want to go. And let's see if dynamic iridology is the right course for you. If it's not, or maybe you need an iridology upgrade, I will refer you to a course that I don't get commissions for. I send people to this anatomy course rather because it's the best anatomy course I've ever seen. And you can get that underway. And then when you've got that, come back to me. We'll talk about adding iridology to your toolkit. But really, if you are interested in learning about this course, and if you're seriously interested in enrolling in a course and want to see if this one is right for you, book a call with me. There's no charge, no obligation, no pressure. Go to tinyurl.com/insight-call, right? And that should take you to my booking link. I haven't checked that link in a while. I should make sure it's still active. Just give me a half a second because I don't want to send you on a wild goose chase, right? Just iridology.com/INS IGHT-call. Let's see if that takes us. It helps if you spell it right. Computers are so literal, aren't they? Oh my goodness. Someone want to check the link for me? Tell me if it's working. I'm just having a bit of a challenge with it today, just because I'm typing one-handed. That ought to work. Let's see. Ta-da, yes, that link does work. So thank you for your patience. If you are interested, if you've got anatomy and physiology under your belt, and you're interested in learning up-to-date iridology, and you're serious about enrolling in a course that is going to be rigorous, you're going to really learn your stuff, and I'm going to see to it, right? I'm there to help you. Book a call, and let's talk about it. And let's see if this is the right time and the right place for you to be doing it. All righty. So with that, my friends, I don't see any other questions or comments coming in. I want to thank you for being with me today. I want to thank you for your patience with all of my technical glitches. I don't usually have technical issues like that, but oh my goodness, what a day. And so thank you from the bottom on phone calls. Have a marvelous day. And for those of you who've been with me on the webinar, the replay link will be going out to you tomorrow. Look forward to speaking with you again soon. Bye for now.